It's not that you're broken. It's not that you're not trying hard enough. It's not that you're missing the magic formula. It's that you've been trained, deeply, silently trained, to interfere, to overmanage, to watch your life like a hawk, waiting for proof it's finally working. But here's the quantum paradox. The more you check, the more you choke the current. The more you grip, the more you scatter the signal. Life doesn't respond to force. It responds to frequency. And the frequency of "is it working yet?" is not the frequency of "it is done." You don't manifest from pressure, you manifest from presence. I used to think I had to earn alignment, that if I could just visualize longer, speak the affirmations clearer, hold the emotions stronger, I'd finally arrive. But manifestation doesn't arrive. It emerges from coherence, from congruence, from a self no longer chasing, but becoming. And the quantum field, this vast mirror of vibration, only ever reflects one thing, the signature you're emitting right now, not the one you perform, not the one you pretend, the one that hums beneath your words, beneath your goals, beneath your smile, the one your body knows. And if that signature is saturated in effort, if your nervous system is clenched, on high alert, waiting for the shift, bracing for disappointment, wired for proof, you can't receive what's already circling you. Not because you're not worthy, but because you're not available. You're tuned to the signal of seeking, not the signal of being, and the universe doesn't hear your words. It hears your state. This is the principle most people ignore. The observer effect isn't just physics. It's the pulse of our lives. What you watch, you influence. What you scrutinize, you distort, not just with your eyes, but with your energy, your fears, your doubts, your need for control. Every time you track the timing, check the message, and wonder why it's taking so long, you collapse the possibility into probability. You reduce the infinite to the familiar. You code the moment with interference, and then you call it reality. But it wasn't reality, it was a reaction, a projection of your past playing out again because the signal remained the same. We think our job is to hold the vision, but our deeper task is to hold the vibration. And vibration is not thought, it's state. It's how your chest feels when you breathe. It's the softness of your gut, the openness of your face, the sense of ease when you stop bracing for things to fall apart. It's what happens in the silence between the thoughts, the frequency of "I'm okay now," not "I will be okay when." Have you noticed how the moments you let go, things suddenly move? How when you stop gripping, the text arrives? When you stop watching the clock, time expands. That's not coincidence. That's coherence. That's quantum. That's the field responding to the frequency of trust. Because trust is not passive, it's powerful. It's what allows the signal to stabilize, the timeline to collapse, the future to fold into the now. But if you live in the gap, if your identity is hooked on the waiting, if your sense of safety depends on the outcome, then no matter what you do, you're still holding the vibration of lack, still signaling the field with "not yet," still embodying the absence. Even in your affirmations, even in your rituals, even in your hustle. And this is where most people get stuck, not because they don't believe, but because they believe with tension, with urgency, with a nervous system still tethered to survival timelines, still proving, still hoping, still watching the pot. But the field doesn't respond to hope. It responds to knowing, not because you said it, because you became it, because your state was no longer separate from the reality you desire, because you weren't wishing for it. You were walking as it, not with control, but with coherence. There was a moment, I remember it viscerally, when I stopped asking for signs, not because I gave up, but because something in me settled, like the way a lake becomes still after the wind dies down. I realized I wasn't really asking for signs. I was asking for safety, for reassurance, for something to hold on to, so I wouldn't have to hold myself. And that's when it clicked. I was outsourcing my alignment to the external. I was checking the mirror, hoping it would tell me who I was. But the quantum field doesn't give you signs to convince you. It gives you signs to echo you. When you're aligned, the signs multiply. When you're in fear, the signs vanish, or they warp into warnings. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because you're vibrating in confusion. And confusion is a fog that bends light, distorts meaning, scrambles clarity. So if life feels stuck, don't ask what you need to do. Ask what you need to become. Ask what you're broadcasting in the silence. Ask what your body is saying beneath your words. Because this is the secret code of creation. Your subconscious is the transmitter. Your emotional baseline is the blueprint. Your nervous system is the dial. And most of us have been living stuck in a loop, unconsciously rehearsing stress, scanning for threat, prepping for disappointment. Even when we speak the language of faith, we carry the posture of doubt. We breathe in fear. We exhale strategy. We try to manage the miracle. But the miracle doesn't live in your logic, it lives in your surrender. I used to walk around with a vibration of waiting. It coated everything. Waiting for the message, waiting for the proof, waiting for the shift that would finally let me exhale. But that very waiting became the wall. That not yet feeling became a frequency. And in the quantum field, frequency is the architecture of reality. It builds what you live. Think about it. Have you ever tried to manifest from a place of need? You light the candle, you say the words, but underneath, there's a hum of desperation, of, please, just this time. That hum is louder than your words. That hum is what gets picked up by the field, and the field responds accordingly, not with cruelty, with coherence. This is why control blocks creation, because control is a symptom of fear, and fear is fragmentation. It scatters your energy, it splits your signal. It tells the universe, I don't believe this is safe. I don't believe this is real. I don't believe I am supported. And the universe, ever faithful, mirrors that belief, not to punish you, but to invite you, to show you what you're radiating, to ask, can you recalibrate, can you remember? Because remembering is the real secret. Not remembering facts, remembering your frequency, the one you knew before the world told you to hurry, the one your soul carries underneath the noise. That frequency isn't loud, it's not demanding, it's stable, it's subtle, it's the soft gravity that pulls everything in without effort, because it's not proving, it's not pretending, it's not trying to manifest, it simply is. And when you drop into that, when your nervous system breathes open, when your shoulders drop, when your heart stops fighting, you enter resonance. You become magnetic, not because you've done more, but because you've returned to the truth, to the tone beneath the task, the energy beneath the intention. That's where alignment begins, in the quiet, in the body, in the breath, not in the fixing, not in the forcing, not in the frenzy of figuring it out, but in the moment you finally let go and let the signal lead. I've learned that you can't fake a frequency. You can't think your way into coherence while your body is clenched in fear. You can't visualize abundance while bracing for loss, because the body doesn't lie, and the field doesn't listen to your thoughts. It listens to your tone, the one humming beneath the surface, the one sculpted by your nervous system, shaped by your past, anchored by your emotional truth. And so often we mistake performance for power. We say the right things, we follow the rituals, but deep down we're still gripping, still doubting, still seeking proof that it's safe to let go. But manifestation doesn't respond to the mask. It responds to the marrow, the raw, honest, embodied truth of who you are when you stop performing. You can't pretend your way into alignment. You must regulate your way into remembrance. You must slow down enough to hear the signal within the silence, to feel the subtle shift when you stop needing the outcome to validate your worth. That moment, the one where you finally soften, not because you gave up, but because you came home. That's the quantum pivot. And it's subtle. You may not even notice it at first. It's not a firework, it's a release, a tiny exhale, a loosening in your chest, a stillness behind your eyes. That's the moment your frequency changes. And when your frequency changes, your field changes. You become a new point of attraction, not by striving, by settling, not by forcing, by remembering who you are without the pressure, without the timeline, without the conditions. And that remembering recalibrates everything. It dissolves resistance. It untangles urgency, it opens space. Because here's what no one tells you. Urgency is a trauma response. It's the nervous system saying, if I don't get this now, I won't be okay. But the field can't align with that signal, because it's not congruent. It's not coherent, it's scattered. And scattered energy cannot stabilize a new timeline. Only coherence can do that. Only safety, only presence. And presence isn't passive, it's magnetic. It's the frequency of now. And now is the only portal through which the quantum field delivers. I used to think letting go meant giving up, but I see now it means tuning in. It means stepping out of the role of the manager and into the role of the magnet. The field doesn't respond to your effort. It responds to your embodiment. And embodiment isn't something you do, it's something you allow. It's what happens when your mind, your body, your heart all say the same thing at the same time. That's when you become a beacon, a broadcast, a steady tone. And the universe, fluent in frequency, rearranges itself to meet you, not because you forced it, because you matched it. You didn't chase the timeline, you became the timeline. And yes, the old habits will want to return, the checking, the doubting, the is it working yet thoughts. That's okay. Let them pass like clouds, but don't grab them, don't follow them. Return instead to the breath, to the body, to the signal, and ask, what am I embodying right now? Because that question cuts through illusion. It brings you back to coherence. And coherence is the current. It's the bridge between your now and your next, between the wish and the reality, not built with effort, but with essence. There's a moment when you stop chasing alignment and start becoming alignment, where the air feels different. Have you felt it? It's not loud. It doesn't announce itself with trumpets. It's a quiet, inner click, like the tumblers in a lock aligning, a subtle opening where resistance used to live. And suddenly, what felt far begins to fold in. Not because you did more, but because you became less divided. You stopped leaking energy into timelines of doubt. You stopped fragmenting your signal with questions that disguised themselves as logic, but were rooted in fear. What if it doesn't happen? What if I'm doing it wrong? What if I miss my chance? These thoughts aren't neutral. They are vibrations. Each one sends a ripple into the field, and the field, ever faithful, organizes around them. You don't need to punish yourself for having those thoughts. You just need to stop agreeing with them. Stop rehearsing the frequency of fear. Stop training your body to expect disappointment, because every time you expect it, you prepare for it. And when you prepare for it, you project it. Instead, train your system to expect ease, to prepare for joy, to normalize receiving. Let your body learn the feeling of safety, not just as an idea, but as a daily experience. Let your breath teach your brain what it feels like to be grounded, even without proof, because coherence begins where proof ends. Coherence begins where you choose to trust before you see. This is the true quantum edge, the choice to become congruent in the absence of evidence, to embody the reality before it arrives, to walk like it's already done, not because you're faking it, but because you've become it. That's what shifts the field, that's what accelerates timelines, because in quantum reality, time isn't linear, it's elastic. It bends around your embodiment, it condenses in response to coherence. The more aligned your signal, the less delay between intention and manifestation. Not because you pushed, but because you pulsed. You became a clean frequency, a stable vibration, a living invitation, and the field, fluent in resonance, responded. Not because you begged, but because you belonged. So ask yourself, where am I still holding on? Where am I still waiting for external proof to allow internal peace? Where am I still outsourcing my alignment to outcomes? Those are the places your frequency leaks. Those are the fault lines where your signal fractures. Bring them into the light, not with shame, but with compassion, with curiosity, with reverence. These fractures were created in survival, in fear, in forgetfulness. But now, you are remembering. And remembering is how the signal returns, how the soul reclaims the steering wheel, how the field starts to rearrange itself around a new version of you, not just thinking different, but feeling different, not just hoping, but humming, a whole new rhythm of being. This is how you become unstuck, not by pushing the wall, but by dissolving the wall's reason for being there, not by finding a better method, but by becoming a clearer message. And in that clarity, you stop asking if it's working, because you feel it working in your bones, in your breath, in the way the day opens, in the way you stop chasing signs and start becoming one. You start to notice it in the spaces between effort, in the soft pauses, in the gentle moments when you're not trying to manifest, but you're simply being. You're brushing your teeth and you feel a sudden wave of ease. You're walking in silence, and the light hits just right, and something inside says, this is it. Not the thing you were chasing, but the state you thought it would bring. And it arrived without the thing, which means it was never about the thing. It was always about the state. Because the quantum field doesn't respond to what you think you need. It responds to who you are without needing. It responds to the you that no longer waits. The you that no longer performs alignment, but lives it. The you that trusts so deeply, you don't need to watch the clock or check the mirror or grab the steering wheel. You walk in coherence, and coherence moves reality. I used to spend hours trying to get into the feeling of what I wanted, as if I could force my emotions to mimic the outcome. But it wasn't real, it was effort disguised as energy. It was trying to be magnetic from a place of fear. And that's the thing. Magnetism can't be faked. Not in the field. The field is sensitive. It reads beneath the surface. It reads the tremble in your breath, the micro-tightening of your chest, the pulse of urgency in your tone. And when your signal is split, when your words say yes but your nervous system says maybe, the field waits, not to punish, but to protect. Because until you are safe inside your own frequency, you cannot hold what you're asking for. You'll sabotage it, mistrust it, drop it, question it, block it. So the field delays, not to keep it from you, but to invite you to become the version of you who no longer needs it to be okay, who no longer clings to the outcome as proof of your worth, who no longer needs the manifestation to escape the moment, but who brings the moment into alignment so fully the manifestation becomes inevitable, because reality doesn't happen to you, it happens through you. And when your signal is clear, when your inner world matches the outer desire, the quantum gap collapses, the timeline shortens, the flow returns. And the beautiful part, it doesn't always show up how you expect. Sometimes it's not the text you were waiting for, but a moment of unexpected peace. Sometimes it's not the money you were hoping for, but a miracle of timing, a free upgrade, a wave of relief, a phone call that changes everything, because the field is intelligent. It doesn't follow your plan, it follows your vibration, and your vibration is clearest when you stop trying to manipulate the how, when you stop narrating the lack, when you stop rehearsing the delay. You manifest not by controlling reality, but by becoming a stable enough signal that reality reorganizes itself to match you. And stability isn't static, it's a living rhythm, a coherence that hums beneath your choices, a tone that says, I'm not waiting anymore, I'm here. And when you're truly here, embodied, open, attuned, the field listens, and life, which once felt stuck, begins to move again, not from force, but from flow. What if the reason life feels stuck isn't because you're doing something wrong, but because you're still trying to do it all from the outside in, still trying to bend the mirror without shifting the face, still trying to change the picture without changing the lens? We've been taught that effort is the path, but in the quantum realm, effort often creates interference. It's not that you shouldn't act, it's that your action must emerge from alignment, not anxiety, from clarity, not compensation. Because when you move from misalignment, you reinforce the very lack you're trying to escape. You signal the field with your doubt, not your desire. And even if you do everything right, if the energy beneath it is fear, the results will echo that fear. You'll feel like you're chasing something that keeps slipping through your fingers, not because it's far, but because you're not a match. This is why embodiment is everything, because embodiment is coherence made visible. It's not just thinking differently, it's walking differently, speaking differently, pausing differently. Not because you're trying to manipulate energy, but because your nervous system has caught up to your knowing, because you're no longer performing the version of you that's doing the work. You are the work. You are the frequency. You are the field in form. And the beautiful paradox? Once you become the frequency, the outcome no longer holds you hostage. You stop gripping. You stop reaching. You stop scanning the horizon for confirmation, because the confirmation is already inside you. The signal has stabilized, and a stabilized signal pulls everything in, not by rushing, but by radiance. This is what they don't teach you about timelines. They're not places. They're patterns, patterns of coherence or distortion, and every moment you're choosing, through your state, through your breath, through your being, which pattern to live in, which reality to tune to, which version of you to amplify. And this is the deepest truth of quantum manifestation. It's not about getting what you want, it's about becoming who you truly are. And from that place, so congruent, so clear, what you desire begins to desire you. Not because you summoned it with your thoughts, but because you matched it with your essence. You didn't manifest it. You remembered it. You magnetized it. You allowed it. So if life feels stuck, if nothing seems to move, come back to the signal. Come back to the self that lives beneath the striving. Ask, what frequency am I living in right now? Is it one of pressure, of proving, of panic disguised as productivity? Or is it one of openness, of trust, of grounded embodied presence? The field cannot lie, and neither can your body. If your chest is tight, if your breath is shallow, if your jaw is clenched, you are not in alignment. You are in effort, in survival, in split signal. But the moment you soften, the moment you drop back into coherence even for a breath, you shift the pattern, you change the field, you realign the timeline. not by fixing, but by feeling, by remembering, by returning to the you that doesn't chase life, but lets life rise to meet you. Sometimes the greatest shift comes not from adding something new, but from subtracting what was never yours. The tension, the timeline, the story that says you have to prove yourself before you're allowed to receive. That old identity, the one built on striving, surviving, scanning for danger, it's not who you are. It's who you became in the absence of safety. And now, you're waking up, not just mentally but cellularly. Your body is remembering a different rhythm, one that doesn't live in fight or flight, but in flow. And in this rhythm, you don't hustle your way into miracles. You let them land. You don't manage outcomes. You magnetize them. You don't build your reality from pressure. You pulse it into being from presence, because when you're fully present, fully embodied, fully in your frequency, you become the event. You don't wait for life to happen to you. You realize life is happening through you, through the vibration you hold, through the story your energy tells before you speak a word. And the story that vibrates coherence is always simple. It says, I'm safe here. I belong here. I trust the field because I trust myself. And from that trust, manifestations unfold, not as rescue, but as resonance. Not because you needed them, but because you normalized them. You allowed your nervous system to receive what your soul always knew was yours. This is why it's not about doing more. It's about deactivating the interference, the overthinking, the hypervigilance, the subconscious scanning that blocks the flow. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be tuned. Like an instrument, you don't force the note. You adjust the tension until it hums in harmony. That harmony is embodiment. That harmony is the key. So if you feel stuck, ask yourself, where am I not in harmony with what I say I want? Am I saying I desire love, but vibrating abandonment? Am I calling in abundance, but vibrating scarcity in my sleep, in my breath, in my self-worth? The field doesn't judge. It simply reflects. Not your potential, your pattern. And you are not your pattern. You are the observer, the conductor, the frequency maker. And with awareness you can recalibrate, not with force, with frequency. Start with the body, with the breath, with the stillness that comes when you're no longer performing for the field, but communing with it. When your asking becomes less about fixing and more about tuning, that's when the grid opens. That's when timelines collapse. Because you're not attracting a thing, you're attracting an echo. A reflection of who you're being when no one's watching. A mirror of the signal you hold when you're not chasing, not faking, not managing. That's when life begins to ripple around you. That's when the messages come without checking. The doors open without knocking. The reality bends not from manipulation but from alignment. You didn't chase it. You remembered it. You became a match. And the match lights the flame. So here you are now, breathing in a body that's beginning to feel different. Maybe not all the time. Maybe not perfectly, but differently. A little softer, a little steadier, a little less interested in controlling life, and a little more willing to meet it. That's not a small thing. That's not subtle. That's evolution. You're remembering how to let life move through you, not around you. You're learning to let go, not because you've lost hope, but because you've found resonance. You've realized that your power was never in the pushing. It was in the allowing, in the coherence between your desire and your embodiment, between your vision and your vibration. And from here, from this frequency of wholeness, life responds differently. People show up who feel like alignment. Opportunities unfold without struggle. Timing becomes less rigid, more rhythmic. And even when things don't look perfect on the outside, you no longer abandon your signal. You stay in the vibration of trust. You stay in the knowing that the field is not linear. It's responsive. That the moment you shift, everything else begins to rearrange. No longer living in the delay of almost, no longer performing the frequency. You are the frequency. And yes, the world will still try to pull you back into effort, into urgency, into the noise of not enough. But now you have a deeper knowing, not an idea, an embodied truth, that you don't manifest by proving, you manifest by pulsing, by emitting a stable signal of safety and sovereignty again and again, until the world has no choice but to reflect it back. Not because you forced it, because you anchored it. Not because you begged, because you belonged. You walk differently now. Not because everything outside has changed, but because everything inside has. You've stopped waiting to feel free. You've chosen to feel free now, to feel safe now, to feel abundant, magnetic, chosen, now, and that changes everything. Because the moment you become the timeline, the old stories dissolve, the gaps close, the waiting ends. You are no longer the seeker, you are the signal, and the field is listening.